Hello, welcome back to the Early Bath Football Podcast. Today is Wednesday? It's Wednesday, isn't it?
It's Wednesday,
the
yeah.
15th of September. On a day of cabinet reshuffles, there is no shuffling here. We are strong with four here today. It's Chris, Ginge, and Barnes. Owen's not here again, sadly, so you have me as your host / compere for today. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, lads, is the return of the Champions League. So there were some games last night, which we'll go into. There's some games currently on, and then there are some games on tonight. So Chris, did you watch any of the games last night, or have you got your eye on any tonight?
So in terms of last night, I did watch the first half of the Manchester United game because I had football training between 7 to 8, so obviously I couldn't watch the second half. But no. As an Arsenal fan, it was a brilliant scoreline. I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved the banter afterwards. Where obviously I knew what the score was, but I could use the excuse that I'd been to football training and just been like, "Oh, lads, I've been at football training. I don't know what the score was." Then immediate Josh Layfey yapping in. Too far. I can't repeat what he said because it was a bit
family
expletive.
show, Chris.
It's a family show. It's a bit expletive what he said, but I absolutely loved it. And then obviously I did see like the highlights afterwards. For me personally, obviously in end of the day, individual errors cost them. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, his touch has let him down. I know a lot of Man United fans don't like Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the ball. They prefer when he just does the defensive part of the game. But yeah, when he's made a touch like that and he's stretching to get the ball, people could tell it was going to be a red card all day long. And obviously Lingard getting the assist for the winner as well. But for me personally, I think Solskjaer's got to take some of the blame as well, because I don't think it's some. Well, first, I didn't agree with his team selection. You know, it's a Champions League game. Surely you play a winner like Rafa Varane at centre back, or when you go down to 10 men, you bring on a solid defender like Rafa Varane sooner, or you bring on, a centre defensive midfielder like a Matic. And yeah, I just didn't get it. And I even, all right, maybe it was resting Ronaldo for the weekend, but why bring on Lingard for Ronaldo? Why do take a point? In terms of the other games, the best thing about being a neutral fan is that obviously BT Sport, they do the BT Sport goal show, where it's pretty much like Gillette Soccer Saturday, but they actually show the goals and they show the action from the game as it's happening. So I highly recommend people watching that. You also don't have to listen to Steve McManaman moan for 90 minutes constantly in that. But yeah, I mean, I'll pick up one game from that, the Bayern Barcelona game. Literally every time they went to that game, every action was in Barcelona's half. Bayern on the ball like it's a training exercise. It was absolutely hilarious, and Bayern just totally dominated Barcelona. But yeah, it's great. I mean, all right, as an Arsenal fan, it's a bit upsetting we're not in the Champions League, but as a neutral, it's great to have the Champions League back.
Fantastic. And yeah, I agree. The Champions League is, I don't know, there's always a different atmosphere of Champions League games, isn't there? So it's always nice to see it back. Ginge, for you, do you think Ole should take the blame, or do you think it was a case of a couple of individual errors that really let United down last night?
I mean, a little bit, but I think you've got to if that team wants to win like the titles and win the league, they need to have like there games where you have to dig your heels in and get a result. And I appreciate young boys. They did play well, and I think they deserve something out of the game. Really, when push comes to shove, they did do really well. I think apart from United's goal, they weren't. I appreciate they were down 10 men for a long time, but I think they did deserve something out of the game. But if they want to beat the bigger teams, if you're looking at going down to 10 men in a bigger game against a more established club, United could have ended up losing that 4-5-1. The amount of, young boys, they could have scored a lot more goals. They had a lot of chances to actually win the game before they did in the last few minutes. So I don't know. I don't think Ollie should take the full blame, but I think he's got to it's a little bit of responsibility there in terms of like Chris said with the actual some of the changes were a bit strange. I appreciate Ronaldo, Lingard is sort of a slightly more defensive option, but there is far better options, to bring on than an attacking midfielder when you're one away from home in the Champions League, first game of the actual new season of the Champions League. You think they'd just be happy with a point going down to 10 men, but
yeah, and Barnes, I think I know the answer to this, given your opinions on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but do you think he can lead Manchester United to a Champions League trophy come, what was it, May? Come May.
Sorry.
Oh, Chris, I think Chris Mum's just joined us for the
Yeah,
podcast.
my mum's making a cameo in the pod.
Oh, this is lovely.
Thank you.
there's the
Superb.
washing gear.
Just brought some washing in. Just brought some washing in. Bless
All the
it.
washing. Superb.
Well,
Barnes,
I think that's more than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to bring to Manchester United. I don't think we're going to see him lift the Champions League. I don't hate Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I've got nothing against him. I actually think he's an all right manager, in fairness. I just don't think he's the level to get Manchester United to winning the Champions League or, winning the Premier League. On the game last night, the annoying thing for me is it's not like it was a poor performance from Manchester United, and having 0 XG after going down to 10 men is embarrassing at the end of the day for a club like Man United with the players they have. Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Ronaldo. There's no excuses for that kind of not creating a single chance, not even a half chance, not even 0.01% of a chance. That is pretty poor, and young boys aren't. It was quite a good atmosphere, but they're not an amazing team. It's just the problem for me is the Champions League format just means games like this is just irrelevant because Manchester United will probably go through anyway because there's so many games, and that means even young boys winning it probably won't actually help them that much. It might help them get the Europa League, but that might be quite big for them in fairness. But generally speaking, it's just not that exciting. So I don't think it will affect Manchester United getting out of the group, and I'm sure they'll easily find their way out the group. But how much further they'll go from there, anyone's guess. I don't think the addition of Ronaldo will help, but I'm not sure it won't be enough to push them all the way to the Champions League glory.
Yeah, and just to come back on a couple of your points there, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said earlier today that you need 12-ish points to get out of the group or win the group even, and that's win your home games and then win 1 away game. So you basically got 2 free games, and that's sort of what you mean by there's no jeopardy involved by losing their opening game.
Yeah.
And then on the expected goals, I agree, to have Man United have 0 expected goals is massive, and it's not good. And I feel I saw a tweet yesterday of if Man City win that in that position, or even Chelsea, to be honest, but you'd expect City, even if they're down to 10 men away from home, would make a chance or make decent chances. I think
it's strange, isn't it? Because Manchester United were good on the counter-attack the last few seasons.
Exactly.
They've been really good. They got excellent counter-attacking players. I know they got some that are injured, like Rashford, but even players like, you think Lingard would be an ideal player to bring off the bench in that kind of game. He's a great counter-attacking player, and Manchester United, as I've said, have those kind of players. So it was strange just to see the complete creativity just sort of melt away in the game. It's very odd.
It's very odd. And then looking at the Champions League more broadly, Chris, who have you got to win the Champions League this year? And do you have any dark horses / you don't think this team are going to do as well as people think this year?
Well, I don't want to be one of them people that just come off the bat and just say Man City or PSG are going to win it. I don't know whether it's me going a bit more from the heart rather than my head, but I generally think this has got to be the year that Diego Simeone finally completes his trophy set at Atletico Madrid, if I can get my words out, and win the Champions League for them. I mean, they've got a brilliant squad. They're 100%. In my eyes, they're the best team in Spain. Real Madrid, all right, they have strength from with Camavinga, but I still think they're going through a bit of a process, and I think they're waiting until next season for when they do, because I think that they are going to bring Mbappe in. I think there's no question about that. And then obviously you just look at Barcelona, and they're just in the mud. Like I said earlier, their performance last night wasn't very good. So, in a way, you could say Atletico are a bit of dark horse as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a tough group they're in. Obviously, being in a group with Liverpool, AC Milan, and Porto, they're three very well established Champions League teams, and like quite frankly, Atletico Madrid could easily finish bottom of that group. Like that is a bit of a tricky group, but no, I think it is the year for Diego Simeone to bring the trophy home. I think they've made smart business as well in the transfer window. Obviously, they brought Griezmann back in on loan with an obligation to buy. Obviously, as Jin said in one of the earlier pods, they brought that Mateus Cunha from Hertha Berlin, who's an exciting player as well. And also they brought in that Rodrigo de Paul as well from Udinese, who was heavily linked with Leeds last season, but he is one of them that he was like Udinese's that stand-up player for the time that he was there. And I know he did play a part in the Copa America. In terms of a dark horse, it's a tricky one. I wanted to go with Sevilla, but obviously they didn't get off to the best of results last night against RB Salzburg. I mean, I could technically still put them as a dark horse because of the group they're in, obviously with RB Salzburg, Lille, and Wolfsburg. But I also think Wolfsburg are a dark horse as well. You know, I mean, they've started off the Bundesliga really well. They've got 4 wins out of 4. They've got a striker in Wout Weghorst who's just as we're describing the strikers industry, a bagsman, just someone that's going to stick the ball in the back of the net, and you know he's tall, you know he wins things in the air, and I think they've got a good chance getting out of the group. They got a good point away against Lille last night. Obviously they went down to 10 men, and the hilarious thing is that they've got Mark van Bommel as their manager. And they literally had like 8 yellow or 9 yellow cards. Yeah, 8 or 9 yellow cards if I get my words out properly. But like, and even Van Bommel got booked himself. It's kind of like, well, did he go on the pitch and just nail someone like he did back in his playing day and that? But yeah, like I just think obviously being in a group with Lille, Salzburg, and Sevilla, I think obviously, I don't think Wolfsburg are going to win it, but I think they could knock on the door for a quarter-final.
There you go. Ginge, same question to you. Can we look past PSG, Man City, or do you think there's another team that could potentially lift the trophy? And do you have anyone that we should be keeping an eye on?
I think Bayern Munich are going to be in there, just because they're like you talk about the depth of Atletico. I agree with Chris. Atletico got everything now. I think before, his teams were solid, as really, really solid at the back. They didn't quite have the potency up front, but now you look at the striking options they have. You know, you've got Suarez still unbelievable, and you've added that with the extra players like Felix and Cunha, people like that around him. So I think they will be exciting. I think Bayern, you look at the depth they've got, and obviously, I could never remember the guy's name. Is it Nagelsmann, the new manager?
Yeah.
Obviously, done like great things with Leipzig. So with that group of young players, you know, I think they could really do quite well. I mean, Barcelona isn't really. I appreciate it on paper it looks like a hard game, but when you actually look at the form of Barcelona, and it's a bit of a shambles. It wasn't really. It was a game you expect Bayern to win quite easily, and they did obviously last night. So I'm interested to see how they got on, like further on in the tournament. I think I'm trying to look through the other teams that I was thinking might be a dark horse, and I'm not really finding anybody that I think really could challenge. I mean, I think the team that always surprises everybody how well they do is Dortmund, because they always seem to overachieve in the Champions League. I appreciate a lot of people like they're not the best team in Germany. If you look at like tournaments of the past, they do get quite far. They do seem to get quite far in the tournament. I think they have a chance of winning it, but I think they could certainly knock a few of the big boys out on the day, especially with the fans back as well. Obviously, that's an absolute fortress in it at home, so they really could do some damage. And then the only other one would be Liverpool. Same reason, fans back at Anfield. They love tournament football. That's like perfect team for a tournament. Is that team they've got? So, those guys, I guess, as well.
Interesting. And Dortmund are currently 2-0 up against Besiktas. They're 62 minutes into that game, I can see on my second monitor. Barnes, same question goes to you. Who do you reckon might win the Champions League and a dark horse? And why is your dark horse Sheriff Tiraspol, who are currently 2-0 up against next?
Don't get me started on Sheriff Tiraspol.
I've just seen that Adama Traore has scored. Not that one for Sheriff, but they have an Adama Traore apparently.
Well, at least he's an Adama Traore of end product.
Well, I just had to do some frantic scrolling down the Champions League groups, mainly because I was like, "Oh, Dortmund! No one's mentioned Dortmund yet." And then Jack goes, "Oh, there's Dortmund." There's Dark Horse. So cheers, mate. He's thrown me under the bus. So I'm going to go for not for a dark horse. I'm just going to talk about who I think will win. I know I sort of ruled out Manchester United win earlier, but I think if I was a betting man, please gamble responsibly. I would go for an English team. I think the spending has been done more by English teams than any other league in Europe. I think quite a lot of the big boys in Europe, your Real Madrid's, Bayern Munich's, look slightly weaker than they have in previous seasons. And the Premier League is only getting stronger and stronger. So it would not surprise me at all if a Premier League team were to win it. A few teams that I think could go well, possibly. I'd like to see Inter Milan and AC Milan do well, just because I like those teams. No reason. They probably Inter Milan obviously sold a lot of players, so they have got quite an easy group though, with Sheriff, as you say, and Shakhtar, and then Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid are playing Inter Milan tonight. Actually, that should be quite an interesting fixture. But going back to Dortmund, obviously, I agree with all that Jack said. I think they've got good pedigree in the tournament, and their group is pretty easy. I'll read out Dortmund, Ajax, Sporting, Besiktas. I don't think they drop too many points in there, so probably top the group, which might give them a decent pathway. But I think the most interesting one really is Barcelona. I'd really like them, or before last night, I'd have been like, oh God, it'd be a real redemption arc story if Barcelona had a decent run in the Champions League. I mean, not that they're particularly likeable, with the Super League and all that, but yeah, wouldn't it be nice, mate? They lose Messi and they actually did quite well, and then they get absolutely thumped by Munich in the first game. They're absolutely terrible. So that's that narrative ruined. But I don't know. It'd be kind of nice if Barcelona weren't completely hopeless.
That would be nice. And I think you mentioned that Dortmund might not drop points in their group. I assume when they travel to the Jose Alvalade Stadium in Lisbon, they will probably drop points. As we know, we've been there.
It's a great.
We should have said Sporting. We should have said Sporting as a dark horse, surely.
Shout out Urban Beach.
Yeah, but they've still got that bloody centre back, haven't they, from Liverpool? Coates. No way are they getting anywhere near that trophy with that centre back.
I'm sorry,
he's a great player.
They just bring back Bas Dost. I mean, what a legend he was. He scored that absolute. I mean, to give people context, me, Tang, Barnes, Lynchy, and another mate of ours, Eddie, we watched a Sporting game against Valencia. It was just a pre-season game. It was like July 2019. Fernandes was playing for.
It was Bruno
Sporting.
Fernandes was playing.
Yeah, and you could tell he was going to make a big move. Right, he is exceptional that day. But yeah, I just remember Bas Dost scoring I think it was a half volley from outside the box. Absolute thunderbolt into the top corner. The fans went mental as well. That was the best thing. It was a pre-season friendly that meant absolutely nothing. And the fans were just so passionate, cheering, singing. That they even have like their own version of "You'll Never Walk Alone" as well. It's like Fair Sporting or something like that. I'm not going to sing it.
Go on, sing it, Chris. Good.
No. We've already had my mum walking on this episode. We don't want to put people off even more.
Oh, inglorious Bas Dost. We'll end it there on the Champions League. Anyone, that terrible pun. We'll move on to the Premier League. And it was obviously Cristiano Ronaldo's return. We don't have Owen or Josh Leafy to just completely, take over this part of the segment of the podcast. So we can have a nice neutralish, because Chris is here as a part-time Arsenal fan. But we'll start with the United Newcastle game. Chris, it was sort of written in the script that Ronaldo would score, wouldn't it?
Oh, it absolutely would. I mean, I can imagine when the Man United fans saw the team sheets at 2:00, I bet they were buzzing. And obviously, like seeing Ronaldo in the starting lineup is obviously going to lift Old Trafford spirits. But look at that, the team that Man United started on Saturday. You know, obviously you had Varane and Maguire, the two centre backs, and then it was quite funny actually because obviously I did say in the one we recorded Friday night, which came out on Saturday, that you know against a team like Newcastle they should play Matic sitting, drop Pogba back deeper, and then have Greenwood, Fernandes, Sancho behind Ronaldo, and that's exactly how they lined up. So whether Ollie was listening into this podcast, someone thought, oh, that Chris knows his stuff, you know, and decided to take the tactics of that. But yeah, it was written in the stars. I mean, I did feel a little bit sorry for Freddie Woodman, whether he was just starstruck that Ronaldo was in front of him. But it was the easiest goal Ronaldo's probably scored in his career. Obviously, a keeper spilling it straight to his feet, and obviously simple tapping. But I think that's what Ronaldo. Yeah, I think Ronaldo wouldn't have minded that, you know, to get himself started in his Man United career. And obviously, it was a brilliant taken second goal that he scored as well. With obviously, Roberto Carlos running in and obviously playing him through, and the Fernandes goal as well. I mean, that was a sweet strike into the top corner. But yeah, like you said, it was completely written in the script that Ronaldo was going to score at some point. But to be honest, we shouldn't really be too surprised. It's Newcastle, and let's face it, Newcastle are a championship team at best. I'm sorry, Newcastle fans. To be fair, Newcastle fans will probably agree with me. You guys are a championship team at best. You should just get relegated.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, Chris has just called out the whole of the Geordie land there. Never go to the northeast again, Chris.
I've been. I went with Oxford.
You have actually. You have.
They could even beat Oxford at home. So
yeah, that's fair. I completely back you. Ginge, were you expecting it? There was a lot of hoo-ha about, you know, will Ronaldo start? Will he even play? Will he come off the bench? Whatever. And then he goes and scores two. Were you surprised? Were you just expecting it? You know, the fact that he's written the script himself. It seemed.
I mean, I was surprised he started just because the way that Ollie seems to like to bring new signings in, he sort of stages them in. But with him, obviously, it was like thrown in at the deep end. But I don't think I wasn't exactly shocked. Like he's like probably arguably one of the best players ever. You know, it's almost like an expectation that he's going to score. You know, so I don't think I know when I see him start, I thought, he's going to get a goal. You just know it. He just, you know, he's the greatest goal scorer ever, isn't he? Statistically, you know. So that I think as soon as I see his name starting 11, I knew he was going to score. It's just inevitable, isn't it? Really. And like Chris said, it made it a little bit easier the fact that it was Newcastle at home. You know, I think it may have been a little bit more of a difficult one to call if it was, you know, one of the bigger games like a City or a Chelsea. You know, maybe not at home as well. Because obviously Old Trafford must have been absolutely bouncing as well. So it was probably the best atmosphere they've had for a long time there. So it was inevitable, I think, in my opinion. Easy to say that after he scored, but I think I was always confident that he was going to score.
Yeah, and Barnes, I said Newcastle last week had a huge opportunity to sort of spoil the show, and I think you said in an earlier podcast that Newcastle were actually interesting to watch in one of the games this season. I thought at the weekend Newcastle weren't even that bad. I think they made a game of it, even though they lost 4-1. I thought the scoreline was a bit harsh on them. Do you agree?
Yeah, they weren't that terrible. That's no compliment, is it really? But in fairness, they didn't really fold over. I thought that they played okay. I mean, Freddie Woodman, I agree with Chris. I feel sorry for him. He had an absolute shocker. It's like Ronaldo waved the wand. It's my first appearance. You're just going to let my shots in. Actually, it happened the other night as well, didn't it? The young boys keeper just went over the line by like an inch or something. But yeah, strange one. I feel like Newcastle, they did actually create some chances as well. They had a couple where I think it was Willett was in on goal. He could have just squared it to Joel Linton, which in fairness is no means, you know, Joel Linton from 6 yards open goal doesn't guarantee anything. But, you know, they had those sort of opportunities where if they had taken, they probably could have got a couple more goals. But I think overall, Manchester United did completely dominate the game and really deserved the win, to be honest. I think as well with Ronaldo, when I joke about sort of, you know, the keepers, having a bit of a nightmare. They did, but I think you've got Ronaldo's the kind of player that the way he plays and his direct style is he's going to get a lot of shots off. He's going to keep trying. He's going to, he'll run into difficult places, and it puts players under pressure. And I think that's the reason why you see players make mistakes around that. I think it reminds me a bit of Liverpool when they won the title, where you had goalkeepers sort of throwing it in at the end of games. I think Jordan Pickford did that. Players making mistakes, and I think when you come up against a team that's sort of super confident or has players within it who are playing with such confidence, it can sort of get in your mind that we're not going to win this game, and you tend to make mistakes. And I think Ronaldo sort of has that impact just mentally before even playing them that he's going to score. So it wasn't a surprise for me. But Newcastle, not so bad. I think they can hold their head up relatively high, especially Javier Manquillo. Never see him on the score sheet. And it was funny for about 5 minutes, wasn't it? We could all laugh at Leif and Owen, but it didn't last long.
Do you think they'll stay up? Because I actually do think. I think there's a lot. I know Chris has absolutely slammed them into the ground, saying they're going to get relegated. But I think they are better than some of the other teams in the Prem. And I think the way they played against United, I think they will do damage. I think with Almir on, like Saint Maximin on the break, you could see that he just tracks players. And I think against a weaker team, I think they would do some damage against. I think you're looking at, or maybe if they played Norwich, for example, I think it could have been quite. I think Newcastle would have won quite convincingly playing that style, the counter-attacking style with the players they've got. It certainly suits them. Like, do you guys think they'll stay up, or do you reckon they'll go down?
I think there are worse teams. I think there are more than 3 teams that are worse than Newcastle in the Premier League. So that's why they'll be safe. I think they're not a great side, but there are worse teams that will get relegated.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's teams that you look, there's not a lot weaker defensively, I think, and haven't got quite as much potency going forward as Newcastle aren't amazing going forward. They haven't really got a number 9 as such, but I think they still got goals in the team that I think some of the other clubs don't have. So I think they might be okay.
You've got Callum Wilson, haven't they? I mean, he's injury prone, but
he plays
when he's on the pitch, when he's on the pitch, he's good. Yeah. I think they will be in big trouble, to be honest, just because of the negativity around the club. I don't think it's necessarily I think they've actually got all right players. St. Maximum is an excellent player, especially on the counter attack, like you just said. But I think under Bruce and the way the club is being run currently, and with the impending takeover, whether that happens or not, I just think they're going to be right down there the whole season. I think it'll be touch and go.
Yeah, that's why I think they're going down as well. I mean, unless they have like this takeover, or all of a sudden, which let's face it, we know it's not going to happen, but all of a sudden Mike Ashley goes, right, Steve, I'm going to give you some money to spend in January. I can only see them going down. I mean, even if they do stay up this season, that's all Newcastle are there for. They're only there just to survive in the Prem. They're not there to go up further in the table under Ashley. They like. I know, obviously, I slammed them into the ground earlier, but I do feel sorry for the Newcastle fans that under this ownership, they're literally going nowhere. They're literally there just to stay in the Prem, just so Mike Ashley can get his fat payday and pocket all the money.
Wow, so Chris hates Newcastle and anyone associated with Newcastle.
I said I felt sorry for Newcastle.
We won't see him in Sports Direct.
Yeah, sportsdirect.com, UK's number 1, by the way.
Just need big mugs.
Huge mugs. We'll move on to other Premier League games which did happen. There were some, big. I think we were going to spend a little bit of time separately on the Leeds-Liverpool game. But there were some big results. Chelsea beat Villa 3-0. City beat Leicester away from home, and Arsenal a huge relegation 6-pointer there for Chris. Do you want to talk about that huge win for Arsenal?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind actually. But in all seriousness, all right, Arsenal got the win. Obviously, the result is the important thing. But you look at it on paper, we've only scraped a 1-0 win at home against Norwich. And if you actually saw the goal Aubameyang scored, it was one of the luckiest goals you're ever going to score in a game of football. What is it? Obviously, Pepe had a shot. I think Kroos tipped it onto the inside of the post. It's then come out to Pepe. Pepe somehow hit the other post, and obviously he's sort of fallen over, Kroos on the ground, and then it sort of hit Pepe's leg, like sort of gone across the goal, but gone across the goal backwards, and Aubameyang's got an easy tap in. I know Daniel Farke wasn't too happy because I think one, he thought it was offside, and two, in the build-up, the ball did hit Saka's hand after Grant Hanley was trying to tackle Saka, and Saka was stumbling a bit. And obviously, if that was under last season's handball rules, VAR probably would have ruled it out. So in that sense, Arsenal got very lucky. I mean, obviously they did dominate the game, but it just wasn't convincing. People can probably say, Chris, you're just being a negative Arsenal fan as per usual, or negative part-time Arsenal fan, sorry, as per usual. But we've only beaten a team like Norwich 1-0 at home. That's not really going to strike fear into the opposition that we're going to be playing against. I mean, but we Arsenal got Burnley away at the weekend, and that's going to be a tricky fixture. What I will say is I was very impressed with Tomiyasu, the new defender. Obviously, he came in, he played it right back, and he looked very impressive, and that, especially going forward. And I know, like, someone retweeted a stat about Ben White playing like 3 key passes and saying, he's done 3 key passes. It's like, come on, this is against Norwich. Of course he's going to do 3 key passes. Like, no offense to Norwich. I mean, considering I've let Ash down like an absolute dark hole by saying Norwich are going to be a dark horse by staying up this season. But in fairness, you look at Norwich's start, first 4 games, obviously they've had to play Man City away, Liverpool at home, Leicester at home, Arsenal away. That's a tricky start. But I think generally when Norwich is going to start to play teams in and around them, I think they're going to start picking up points. And now they've got players coming back from injury and obviously coming back after testing positive from COVID, I think they will, start to gel, and I think they will go up the table.
Yeah, I think Norwich have had a very tough start to the season. I'm minded to agree with you, Chris. I think Norwich might do a bit better than people may think. Although they are pretty much been the whipping boys of the past. To be honest, in my lifetime, they've always got promoted and they've never really made it stick. But different strokes for different folks, really, if that's what they do. Jack, did anything catch your eye this weekend in the Premier League?
I only watched a bit of the game, but the Man City game against Leicester, I think everybody thought that was going to be a big banana skin, the City, especially over in the past. I think Leicester have been their undoing, haven't they, in a lot of the fixtures. And I thought considering how, I think tired they looked in the Tottenham game, I think they looked a lot better against Leicester. I think that sort of caught my eye. So I did think they might drop points. Honestly, I didn't think they would. I thought they might maybe sneak a draw, but I don't think they'd be able to win it. Certainly against them. So I think, like I said, in the last few years, I don't know the exact results, but I think Leicester have taken a lot of points off of them in the last 3 or 4 seasons, playing that sort of style. So that was the one that caught my eye. Just have a look back because I can't actually remember some of the results.
It wasn't really a good weekend, to be honest, of Premier League action. It was probably 2 goals scored by all of the teams over the weekend, I feel.
The mighty Seagulls thing.
Oh yeah, of course. Brighton 1-0 away at Brentford. Beating let's say they beat an unbeaten team this season away from home, which is I think they're up to 4th now. It's fantastic to see.
Also, another game. Obviously, in the very first episode, Ed Priest described Palace as awful without seeing them play. An awful Crystal Palace beat Tottenham 3-0. So, from an Arsenal point of view, very good weekend.
Very good.
What about Everton as well? They are doing very well, aren't they, at the minute?
Yeah, I think we could definitely touch upon that. Andros Townsend scored an absolutely fantastic goal. And I saw his interview afterwards where he said he rolling back the years. Can you roll back your own years? I feel like that's something you say about someone else. I feel it's a bit self-indulgent to say I'm rolling back the years.
That's like talking decades. It's only a couple of years. It's not like it's it's not like he's 42.
Barnes, did you watch that Everton Burnley game? Everton won 3-1, by the way.
I did tune in briefly. To be honest, it wasn't one down where I thought of it. Burnley Everton, here we go. Monday night, Monday Night Live, Burnley Everton. But in fairness, it actually did look quite a good game, and like you said, absolute rocket from Townsend. It's a bit worrying when you get a player come out and say he's going to roll you. He's feeling good. He's rolling back the years. You kind of he's going on a goal drought now. He's sort of jinxed himself there. But no, Everton have started off really well. I think that's sort of indicative of they didn't sign that many players, and Rafa Benitez is sort of a ready-made Premier League manager. You know, there's no need for adjustment. They've had quite a lot of their squad has been together since last season, and they've had quite a decent set of fixtures. So I'm not too surprised to see Everton doing well. I think the game that stood out most for me, I think Chris has only mentioned it briefly, was that Palace Spurs game. I've been quite bigging up Spurs, I think, this season, but they were absolutely horrendous. Just so passive. What ages before? To be honest, Tanganga was probably one of their better players before he got sent off. And I did enjoy his foul on Zaha. What on earth is that? I feel like that should be like I don't know. It should be like orange card or something for that. That was, you can't just like push someone in the face and then be like, why are you so mad? You know, why are you angry? And obviously he got sent off 2 minutes later. So
it was almost like a JBL clothesline from Hell from the WWE. I know we've mentioned WWE quite a lot, but like obviously JBL used to use the old clothesline from Hell as his finisher, and it was always like he's kind of got him for that on Zaha. Like just
yeah, it was just the way he did it, and he just got straight back up as well, and was just on him. It was just like full on WWE. But yeah, Tottenham in the game was just dreadful. So like Harry Kane. I think there's been some ridiculous comparisons of who's better, Harry Kane or Ronaldo. I mean, it's so obviously Ronaldo. I don't understand how that's. I don't even understand how that's entered the sort of world of conversation. But there you go. He did absolutely. You couldn't have two more stark performances of Ronaldo. I know against Newcastle and Harry Kane against Crystal Palace. I know it's just one game comparison, so it doesn't mean a lot. Just so passive. So, I don't know. I don't really like when they say, oh, he doesn't want to be there, so he's not playing very well, because he'll probably turn up and, play really well next week, or, smash a hat-trick against Arsenal or something. But it was just really poor, and Tottenham were poor. And I don't think that necessarily bodes that well for them, especially against the Crystal Palace team that's still... They're not awful, but they're definitely still finding their feet, and they look nervous. Before they got that penalty, and then obviously, after they scored the goal, they sort of you could tell that a weight had been lifted, and they played with a lot more confidence and put Spurs to the sword.
Yeah, Spurs are very much creating less chances than last year. I think they're really struggling to create chances, and that doesn't bode well for Harry Kane, especially in a. I think people forget this is technically a World Cup sort of season. Obviously, it's next December, but this is a big run up into the next World Cup. They'll obviously have a bit of the first season next season, but it's not going to be a massive amount of time. We'll move on to our last topic, which is Pascal. I'm going to say that I'm going to butcher this. Struijk, maybe. I think he's Belgian, isn't he? Dutch. Is he Dutch?
Similar, similar area.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Yeah. The horrific injury that Harvey Elliot got over the weekend, and the red card for Pascal. We found out today that Leeds lost their appeal for it. He's going to serve that 3-match ban for that tackle, and we hope, obviously, firstly that Harvey Elliott recovers well. It looks like he might actually be able to play before the end of the season. I saw a report earlier, which is fantastic, because I couldn't believe he was only 18 still. He's so young. But we've discussed this extensively in the group chat, but I think it's worth sort of talking about here. Chris, do you think, one, it was a red card, and two, do you see why the appeal was lost, or do you understand why?
So no, it wasn't a red card. I will just put it out there. In my opinion, it wasn't a red card. A robust challenge from behind, yes, but it wasn't a reckless one. And obviously, surely the letter of the law, if it was a reckless challenge, obviously it's a red card all day long. But there's nothing reckless about it. I mean, Harvey Elliott even came out and said it himself on his Instagram post. Like, he holds no grudges against Pascal Struijk. He even said, I don't think Harvey Elliott didn't say it wasn't a foul or anything. I think he just said it wasn't a red card, and he just said, unfortunately, accidents do happen in football. And like you said, Tang, obviously we do wish Harvey Elliott the best from the Early Bar Football Podcast. We wish him a speedy recovery and hope to see him back on a football pitch soon. But I don't get how it's not been overturned, because surely you got to look at. I mean, in the same game, right? What was it? 5-10 minutes later, Liam Cooper made the exact same challenge on another Liverpool player, and because like he didn't dislocate that Liverpool player's ankle. Well, to be honest, the ref played on because obviously Cooper got the ball, and it was just that Struijk didn't get the ball, or Struijk, whatever you want to say his name. Pascal didn't get the ball, and I think was it Craig? I think it was Craig Pawson that was a ref, but I think he's just sort of looked at the injury and sort of like just gone off there and just said, "Yeah, red card," which you can't do that. You should have. You should have looked at the. I mean, they've got the television monitors at the side for a reason. The person on the VR should have said, well, you might want to look at this on the television just in case, so you think, just in case you might decide if it was a reckless challenge or not. Because the person, if he would have went and looked at the TV, I think he would have saw that it wasn't a reckless tackle. To be fair, red card or not, I think Liverpool were the better team anyway on Sunday. They played really well against Leeds. I think Barnes said it in the chat actually. Like Leeds are like such an entertaining team. They can either be really good or they can help make the other team look really good. And yeah, like from a Liverpool point of view, like obviously the Harvey Elliot injury isn't very good for them. But obviously in terms of like the team performance, like for me, that's one of Thiago's best games in a Liverpool shirt. Obviously, Sadio Mane probably could have and should have scored more, but at the end of the day, they've run out 3-0 winners. Away at Ellen Road. But yeah, obviously finishing on like the red card for me, it was a red card, and how it's not been overturned. I think Mike Riley. If Mike Riley is on the panel, I just want to have a go at Mike Riley because I'm a big hater of him from the old Arsenal days when he used to ref, but. I think Mike Riley needs to have a word with himself.
Okay, so Chris hates Geordies and Mike Riley. Okay, so Jack, do you think Craig Pawson there has dealt that red card, given that red card out with emotion? Do you think he's seen the injury and thought, okay, it's a horrific injury, deserve a red card? Do you think that's gone through his mind there?
I think for him, I think the actual in the moment decision, I can't really blame him for giving a red card because I don't think he necessarily saw it and seeing it at that speed and seeing the injury and what happened. You probably put like 2 and 2 together and then you get the result of it being a bad tackle. But I agree because I don't think it was a red card really. I think it was just a pure unfortunate accident really. And you do get them because it's a sport where you're going to get those sort of accidents. You look at some of the other ones in the past. There's sort of similar sort of instances have happened, but they still seem to be given the red card. I don't exactly know why. Did they an explanation as to why it was they like kept it as a red? Did they say it was still dangerous play, or did they not specify?
I haven't seen any sort of justification for why the appeal was lost. So that's lost on me.
Yeah, because I sort of think that. I appreciate it's hard to sort of work out whether there's intent there when there's a tackle, but when you watch that back, the people that in the VAR room must have looked at it and thought that there's no intent for that tackle. I appreciate like the referee in that moment. I appreciate why you give the red because you look at his ankle and you think, oh my god, that's a terrible tackle. And the speed of it probably looked quite bad, but when you actually watch it again and look at it from a different perspective, you realise that it wasn't actually intentional to do that. So I sort of get why he give the red in the moment, but I don't get why they haven't overturned it because it's obviously not on purpose. It wasn't a dangerous tackle on purpose. So it's baffling to me a little bit. But every year we have this with these. If it wasn't the handball rule, it's now intentional red cards or not intentional, and it's just one thing to another, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah, and Barnes is a man who's made numerous clean challenges in his life as a defender. It opened up a debate in one of our group chats of if it's an injury, it's a red card. Do you agree with that? And what are your thoughts on Pascal's situation here?
I do feel sorry for Pascal. Poor Pascal. I am like Jack and Chris. I'm surprised it didn't get overturned. That seems an odd decision. The only thing that I would say, perhaps, like I don't think it was a red card, but just in terms of them not overturning the decision, is I'm not sure if his left leg is very high after he's tackled him. So once he's followed through, his left leg's in a really weird position, which isn't what caused the injury. But if you look at it in sort of a still, it looks odd. I think quite often with these red card challenges, they tend to look. There's something about them. There's something about them with different. I don't think the intent makes any difference. I've said before on this podcast, like there's nothing in the rules really about if you meant to do it or you didn't mean to do it. So, and one, you're never going to know, and two, from the ref's perspective, it doesn't really make too much of a difference because at the end of the day, was the tackle dangerous or was it not? Some people would argue that sliding tackle from behind like that, you have the potential to cause an injury. I would say possibly fair, but probably still not enough for a red card. I think a yellow card would have been fair enough on the pitch, but I think in the moment, Craig Pawson giving a red card, understandable. Surprised it wasn't overturned by VAR in the moment, and then I'm even more surprised that it wasn't overturned by VAR later on. But I do think some of the comments though on this injury have been like ridiculously like over the top. People do it all the time. Like Liverpool will probably line up on. Well, they're playing tonight, aren't they? Probably have like get well Harvey or like pray for Harvey. Like he's broken his ankle. Like it's not the end of his like he's not dead. Like Klopp afterwards. I know he's broken his ankle. Is a bad injury. He's a young player and all that. But Klopp after it's like he's seen a ghost. Like I've never seen a player got injured before. Like. And Klopp's already moaned about, hasn't he, that he thinks the new reffing, where they're sort of letting more go, or that's what they're perceived to be doing, is he doesn't like it. Like it's not sort of his thing. I just think, I don't know, cut the refs some slack. I think they've been quite good this season. I think they were wrong, and that Craig Pawson was wrong in this case. But yeah, and I'm hoping to see no Liverpool t-shirts crying for Harvey Elliot.
So the referees are good, apart from Craig Pawson. That's what you've just ended on there. Really.
Let him off. One mistake.
What another great few days in football that we've sort of digested there. It's all crazy. Everything seems to happen all the time. There's always stuff to talk about. And I think we've 47 minutes there. We'll call it there. We've talked for everything that I wanted to discuss today anyway. I'm not sure about you guys, but thank you for everyone that is watching or listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment or a review or whatever. However your streaming platform does feedback, please give feedback because we really do appreciate it. And we do want to rise. We want to rise up those rankings, get more views and downloads. Chris is rising.
Rise like a salmon.
Rise like a salmon. So this is the part where we'll say wave and goodbye. So wave and goodbye. And we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.